Alright, so we went ahead and sent those wireframes off to the clients, and they came back saying they loved it, so we went ahead and started with the design portion of it. So what I want to do is just kind of go through the design process and some of the things that I want to continue talking about as far as UI and UX goes for mobile devices and other things like that. I'll also throw in a couple of design things to look out for when you're in here. And just kind of go through the process of setting this up to then export out for the web. So again, we have our desktop website over here. We've got a mobile over here. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way that the website has turned out design-wise. Kind of went with the Creative Online School green and paired it with this kind of purplish color over here, this kind of grayish purple, and then just followed that color palette through most of the website. I created a navigation area over here so people can then choose the products to purchase or sign up for the courses or choose the fax or contact, things like that. So we have a pretty large menu over here. Normally this would not fit into a mobile site, so we definitely want to have the hamburger menu for things like that. I do have a search icon over here. We have the large photo area here. The client decided not to use those two buttons, so we went ahead and got rid of those. We've got a little bit of copy here. This, okay, we want to have a tagline here. Then we want to have some more Greek copy. They haven't supplied that yet. As you scroll down, we get some other design elements here where there are a couple of buttons. So we move those down here. We got the actual text for that. Now we have a kind of a carousel slider down here, as well as some more photos, some more text. Created a little bit of a call to action down here. We have a footer menu area down here, and then finally a copyright area down at the very bottom along with the logo. So what I want to do is go through some best practices as far as design goes, as well as UX UI best practices too. So let's take a closer dive into this design, starting at the very top. Now again, I'm at 66% down here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so I can see this at 100%. Right now, I'm kind of okay with the design of the website. For the most part, it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn on some guides just so I can see some things. I'm going to line this up. So maybe I want to have all my copy within this kind of bounding area here, and the logo seems to be just outside of that. So I can just grab my logo and I can pull that in a little bit here. Now the navigation seems kind of off-centered, so I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to grab this area right here that shows me that I'm on the home page. I'm going to pull that one over a little bit here. So it's a little bit more right-hand aligned. The search icon I got up there, I want to make that kind of look like it's part of the navigation. That's totally fine. Again, large photo area here. This is cool, but may need to be adjusted a little bit once it gets onto a mobile device. We have a large title area. I'm good with that. The text itself, it's kind of okay. I may want to air that out a little bit as far as some adding a little bit of leading. That looks a little bit better. Maybe we want to have this justified both left and right. So that kind of cleans up the copy a little bit there, right? So if that's the case, a lot of times what you want to do is just visually have this line up, other things line up off of it. So I'm going to grab the title here. I want to make sure that's just kind of lined up on the same vertical line that the rest of the text is. And I'm going to just click and drag to just line it up with the right hand side over there. I'm going to pull a guide in just to make sure that that is lined up properly. It looks like it's just a little bit short there, so I'll make it a little bit bigger. Alright, cool. So now that's all lined up, I've got a nice vertical flow going on here. I've got this nice little kind of muted photo going on here so that the text is nice and easy to read on top of it. I've got two buttons to get started or learn more. And then I've got some copy down here. I've got my carousel, which is what I'm kind of showing here, that will then be programmed once it gets converted over to HTML and CSS. Add a little bit of JavaScript to make that work. Now I've got another area here for this. I don't like this area down here. You can see that everything's nice and lined up, so that's good. But for a good kind of UI, I guess probably the best way to say it, is to make this copy here white as opposed to this dark color on this dark green. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one over to white. You always want to make sure that things are readable. When it was the kind of purplish color here like this, it just wasn't as readable because it's like a dark color on top of another dark color, whereas being a call to action I think should stand out a little bit more. In fact, I'm even going to make it a little bit larger here. Alright, so now it stands out a lot better. It's a larger font than most of it, and it has more contrast with what it's on top of. So always be careful that whenever you place text on here, always think readable first and then stylize it later. Alright, so now I get down to the footer area here where I've got a couple different menu items, but they're really kind of all janky and floating around here. I want to line them up, so I'm going to go through the alignment process one more time. So we'll just make sure got one where we want it to go. So that's pretty good there, but I want to line these other ones up off it as well. So if I command click, I can choose the other layer. As I start to pull it up, I'll see where it starts to line up on the item next to it. So I can see I get that vertical line going across the top, so I know that's lined up. And if I pull it left and right here, I can see a vertical pink line. That's going to show me that I'm centered within the page. So that's a great place to be. Now one more here. I'm going to grab this last one. I'm going to command click it, or option, or for depending on if you're on PC or Mac. I'm going to pull it up. I see that that's all lined up, and I'm going to pull that one over a little bit here. There we go. That looks lined up nice. Alright, so now I've got all three of these all vertically aligned to the top of the text here. Everything's looking good. Come down to the bottom. Now here I have that guide that I set up. So it's good that I set that up here because I would forget exactly where all my copy is falling here. I can see the buttons lined up on it, but the logo, it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and command click and pull that over here. So that's lined up real nice. Now the copyright doesn't need to read real well. That can be nice and kind of muted like that is. That's the way it is right now. It doesn't need to be, bold and in your face. So having it a little bit smaller and just kind of a similar value of this purple color here is totally fine. Bringing that up though, what I may want to do is with some of this text, maybe I want to make that not so gray, make it a lighter gray so it stands out. It is a menu item. It is something that I want people to be able to see. I'm not really trying to hide it. I forgot to look and see what hexadecimal code I was using, so I forgot what that was. So maybe what I want to do is choose a gray that I do like, and I can just simply copy that hex value as opposed to trying to remember the CMYK value or the RGB value. I don't have that good of a memory, so I'm going to say OK. I've copied that, and I'm going to come back to this other one here. This does look a little bit darker, so I'm sure that's not the same value. So in there, I'm just going to paste the correct hexadecimal code that I copied from this middle one. And I'm going to go over and do this one more time for this text over here. And again, we can see that that hexadecimal code is different, so I'm going to paste in that code. Alright, so I'm good with that. Now in the next video, we're going to take a look at how we're going to then kind of port that over into the mobile version of it and make sure that this is the best that it can be for a UX UI experience, as well as maybe moving some of these photos over because I just had placeholders for some of them for now. We'll get into that more into the next video.